I know that the idea of opening up your studio and inviting in members of the general public might sound super scary, but I think this is a wonderful way of getting local profile, direct sales, and just focusing your mind so you jolly well finish some of your work. I'm sitting here waiting for the second day of my open studio, so I thought it would be really useful to share some pros and cons of doing it, things to think about before you jump in. My name's Liz Chatterton. I'm a watercolour artist based in Berkshire, and every week I share tips and tricks I wish I'd known about ages ago. I also share general ideas for people who love to make art. And I think that opening your home studio is one of the most powerful and underrated ways of raising your profile and moving your art forward. So why might you decide to open your studio? Well, of course, it gives you instant local profile because you'll be publicising it, you'll have signage out, people will suddenly know you're here. And of course, people don't know you're painting at the bottom of the garden or in your spare room. Oh, and I should say, when I say open studio, it's opening your creative space. So if you paint in the conservatory, if you paint in a studio, your spare room, at the kitchen table, that counts. You do not have to have a very posh, beautiful studio to open. Though, of course, that helps. And buyers love context. They love to see where you create, what motivates you, how you go about it, what your techniques are. And people want to connect with you emotionally. And it's only when there is that emotional connection that they are possibly going to buy things. Now, the third reason is that you don't have to pay commission. If you are selling direct, you keep 100% of whatever you sell. If you're in a gallery, that's tough anyway, just getting accepted by a gallery. But they've got their overheads and their commission is likely to be 40, 50, even 60%. And you build a supportive community by opening a studio. Your neighbours, your friends, your family, other artists, local businesses will start to root for you. They know you're there, they can see you're working hard, they see what you're up to and why you're doing it. They start to really be your fans. So let's have a quick think about what the pros and cons of opening our studio is. Well, local collectors get to know about you and meet you naturally, and you get immediate feedback on your work. It's brilliant for market research. People say, oh, I love this, or oh, what are you doing there? You learn a lot. You can build your mailing list really quickly. So collect emails, build a mailing list, and then use it. You can sell smaller things like prints, and it's a really good idea to have lower priced pieces so that people who want to support you can. And of course, you can network with local artists. The downside, of course, is that your home and your space has to be presentable, it has to be safe. People are literally coming through your door, and that can feel like a bit of an intrusion sometimes, so you need to make sure you're comfortable with that. It certainly takes a lot of time and energy to sort things out. You need to do your publicity, you need to do your tidying up. It's not a spontaneous, oh, I'll do that tomorrow type decision. You do need to make sure that you have permissions. That depends where you live. You might need to check your own home insurance. You're going to have to check things like public liability insurance. You'll need to think about signage, both sort of internally, so like my studio sign there, but road signage, arrows pointing to where you are, especially if you live somewhere fairly remote. Of course, you've got to be sensible and know that not everyone who visits will buy, but maybe not this time, maybe another time, or they'll tell a friend and they'll come. So you need to be slightly chilled about it. And you do need to think about personal and home security, things like your pets. If you've got a big dog that is a bit woofy, what are you going to do with that? You know, if your cat's a bit scaredy cat, how are you going to protect them? And, you know, what does your family think about the invasion? Let me illustrate lots of different points by taking you through my setup. I am not saying this is perfect, but this is what I do. So I've got a sign outside for about 4 weeks beforehand. I've allowed for parking. I must move our car, and of course a welcome sign, making it really clear about the visitor flow. Oh, here's my scaredy cat. Thinking about that visitor flow and how you can use your space to its sort of best advantage is really important. So I'm using our conservatory as a gallery, and then there's my studio, which is at the end of the garden that people can go to. I try and label everything and make it really obvious where people should come and they're welcome. If it was a bit warmer, I would have the door open. In my conservatory, I've got finished work on display, and I've also got lots of smaller items that are more gift items. Greetings cards in the UK are particularly popular. Think about how you hang your work. So in the conservatory, I've got generally smaller pieces, and then in our sitting room, I've got larger pieces. I've got a sign up sheet for our newsletter. This is an open studio trail, so that goes straight to there, and I'm encouraging people to sign up. I've got really clear prices on everything, because if people need to ask, they won't, and they'll be embarrassed. And what you might want to do is create labels to explain some of your processes and techniques, because you can't be in every place at once. I actually haven't done that, but there you go. You do need to think about security. So I don't want people going into our kitchen, which is through that door. What I'm just going to do is move my card browser to block the door. Of course, put a private sign on it if needs be, but do think about how you're going to stop people going where you don't want them to go. Now, I've decided that I'm actually going to be happy about people coming into our sitting room. Wasn't sure about this, but I think it's quite nice to see some bigger pieces in a domestic context so you can imagine them in your own home. I wish I'd hung more on the wall rather than just having them on easels. Oh, this panda actually stops anyone going through the door and going upstairs, so I use my easels to stop people. And we've got a through sitting room, so I've put this across, this sort of frame across, and again, that means I can just hide a whole load of rubbish behind it. Couldn't think what to do with that plant. Anyway, so that's my setup sort of in the house. And then my desire is that they will go up to the studio. So I make sure that's clearly signed. Walk through the garden. I have thought of health and safety. We have a pond to the right here, and I had visions of someone with kids coming and the kid falling in there. So I use that bunting to sort of stop it. Your studio is the star of the show. So people want to see where the magic happens. They want to go behind the scenes, and they're always fascinated by the brushes and the whatever. It does need to be tidy, but it doesn't need to be spotless. I will say a little bit more about that in a moment. But I let them come in. They see it warts and all. You want to make your studio welcoming, but you want to make it realistic, because you don't want it to be so sterile that people think, oh, does she actually paint here? Now, mine is rammed, as you can see. I have spent a lot of time tidying it up, but hey, that's realistic. The walls are splattered in paint. There is a lot of stuff, and people actually quite like that. I think maybe it horrifies a few, but this is some place where I really work, I really create. So this is my studio. It's at the bottom of the garden with a good view of the vegetable patch. This is where I film lots of my YouTubes, and I deliberately leave the light out there so people know this is where I work. I've got some work in progress out, and then you won't believe it, but I've had a massive clear up. You can see where I've rammed everything under the desk to try and hide it. But I've got little experimental pieces up here. Everything is priced, everything is clear. And then I have some more work on the walls. I've got sketchbooks out, my journals from traveling. And again, I've got a print here with small pieces in as well. So we've decided on how we're going to use our space really efficiently, that visitor flow, so that people go where you want them to and don't go where you don't want them to go. We've displayed our work with intention, we've grouped things together, we've put them at eye level, we've got clear prices on them. We've got our small cost things so that people can support you and start to collect your work, even if it's just a greetings card, because that can lead to all sorts. Now we need to think about payment. So they want to buy something, be prepared to take cash, be prepared to take cards. Cash, make sure you've got some change. If you are selling your greetings cards for £2.50, you're going to need lots of 50p's for change. Really, you need to have some way of taking card payments. I've got a little machine, it's called a Zettel. It's not expensive, but you are charged commission on it, 1.75%. Depending where you are in the world, you might do Venmo, PayPal, have a little card machine. You can do bank transfers, whatever works for you, but you must be able to take card payments. You've seen my signage as we're around. I've got a banner outside, and I've also got road signs like this. It's Corex, sort of, they're waterproof and they last for years. Something like that's great because you can cut an arrow at either end and then put them up to point to where you are. So make it clear, really just help people as much as possible. And we've already talked a little bit about security, just making sure doors are shut, anything valuable taken away, just put somewhere safe, because the people visiting your home are going to be absolutely lovely, but let's be sensible. The final thing is accessibility. What if someone comes who's got a walking stick or a Zimmer frame or a wheelchair or a push chair? Can you accommodate those? And that's quite difficult because there are steps, narrow paths, things like that. But do think about it and accommodate as many people as possible. We want people to see and share our art, and if we make it impossible for them to get in, that's just not right. You are the host. They are coming into your house, into your studio to see your work, and you should be jolly grateful they've turned up. So be warm and welcoming, but don't be pushy. Don't hover. Don't be salesy, but just, I'm here. Thank you so much for coming. If you've got any questions, please ask. Do look around. I've got this here, I've got that there. I'll let you take a look, but I'm here to answer your questions. It's a sort of attitude that makes people feel comfortable. Up to you whether you want to offer refreshments. I don't, because it's often just me and I cannot answer questions, be in two places once and make cups of tea. You might want to. Maybe when I've done an open studio in the summer, I have had drinks in the garden so that people can sit and relax, and that seems to work. Oh, something else that could be nice is, of course, having a little bit of music on in the background so they're not just walking into an empty, quiet house. So I've got a speaker in the background and I'll put on something very gentle just to take the edge off that noise. If that all sounds like a bit much and a bit too scary, why not join together with other local artists and make a little trail, and then you're sharing the work? Or invite a friend into your house and do two of you together. If you're a jeweler, you don't necessarily want to be opening your studio because you will have precious things, maybe silver, gems, whatever, and your insurance won't let you do that. And you don't want to say to people, oh, look what I've got. So maybe if you're an artist, invite a jeweler into your space and you can do that together, just as a thought. Or you can take it to the next step and actually form a small trail. And that's what we've done. This is our second year. We had 9 studios last year, 15 this year. We've called ourselves Acorn Open Studios because big oak trees start from little acorns. And we've got a leaflet, details about all the artists, and of course a map of where people should go. So there's a real advantage because you get to know new artists. you can benefit from their current collectors, friends, relatives, people who like their work. They will come to you. You can share the workload of signage, you can share the workload of cost, because doing a leaflet just for you is an awful lot, but shared between 10 people, considerably less. And there will be specialist skills. Someone will be good at designing, someone will be good at contacting the local press, someone will be good at whatever it is. So you can use the joint skills. And it appears more professional, because just going into some random stranger's house can be quite scary for people. But if it's a part of an official trail, then potentially that will encourage more people to come. But of course, the challenge is that you've all got to agree on things, and you know that sometimes organising artists can be like herding cats. So there are downsides and upsides, but I would say the upsides outweigh those. And we're hoping our studio trail will grow and grow and grow until it becomes really established, and possibly has 50 studios on it. Wouldn't that be brilliant? And we'll almost have little groups within the trail. So I hope that's inspired you. Opening a studio can be scary, but the advantages are there. You connect with local people, you make direct sales, you connect with other artists, and it also focuses your own mind. There is nothing better than a deadline for making sure you've done your framing and you've finished that piece you've been working on for ages. So please give it a go. If you're an artist looking for a boost, this could be the right step for you. And if this has been useful and you want me to go in more details about signage and leaflets and whatever, then let me know in the comments.